Of course, our siblings grew up knowing that we were the bad ones. They knew whatever they were taught by our parents. We grew up knowing we were the bad ones. Those of us who were the scapegoat children, we grew up knowing there was something wrong with us. We grew up knowing that we needed to earn love, that we weren't deserving of it. We grew up knowing that we deserved the abuse that we received. And our siblings saw that by example. And our sibling also grew up, by the way, the golden children grew up knowing that they also had to earn love. How they did that was by aligning with the narcissist parent. They knew what the cost of the ticket was, and that was blind obedience and agreement, and even demonstrating cruelty against a scapegoat child would win them points because they were always right, whether they were right or not. So as a child who grew up in that environment as the family liar, my brother naturally had that exact same belief, because what else would he know? How would he know anything any differently than that? As an adult, though, let's fast forward. He's in his 60s now, and he had his 20-year-old sister, so he's 5.5 years older than I am. He had his 20-year-old sister, however old I was at the time, 20, 21, 22, somewhere in there, ring him on the phone and disclose the most horrific thing, or I should say one of the most horrific things that ever happened to me, which is that I was sexually assaulted when I was 12, and that's how I lost my virginity. What is his first reaction going to be? Well, I've always been the liar. And if I'm outing anything, if I'm talking about anything that's negative, if I'm saying something that is hard for him to hear in particular, I would think that would have been hard for him to hear. He's going to go to his conditioning. Marnie, you're a liar. Now in his 60s, he doesn't get to hide behind that anymore, because I know he knows better now. I know that he recognizes our growing up experience. And I also know that he's not my brother. He is my mother's son. And that is the path that he has chosen. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a point in time where there's kind of almost a free pass, where we're young, we're unhealed, we didn't go to therapy, we don't have families of our own maybe, because I think when we have children, we gain a lot of perspective on what was good, bad, right, wrong, normal, not normal, right? The contrast is what makes us start to question our upbringing, because remember, as children growing up in that environment, that's our normal. So it's those other life experiences that are usually the catalyst for healing, for seeking out therapy, for understanding that it was the adult in the room who was at fault, not the child who was being taught they were at fault. So now my brother no longer gets that free pass. He's a man, he's married, he's been married forever, and good on him for that. I'm glad that he found that stability, whatever that looks like. He's a father of daughters, and he's never once come back and said, you know what? I recognize how bad that was, where that messaging came from. I'm so sorry. I see you. I believe you. Even if he doesn't want to have a relationship with me, he's never shown up as my brother, or a man for that matter, as far as I define what a man looks like. He is my mother's victim. He is my mother's son. He will die my mother's son. And I think that's really unfortunate. I had to lose a whole family I didn't have, and understand I never had a family, to figure out how to heal and do better for myself. And my brother will die in that system. I think I'll pick where I'm at over where he's at. So thank you for your comment. And the reason I wanted to highlight it is because I know a lot of times siblings cannot understand why the other kids in the family don't stand with them. They weren't raised by the same parent. That's part of it. They were raised to believe that you were the problem. And they also understand that if they acknowledge that you weren't the problem and they start to hold the abusers accountable, they're also going to be kicked off the island. And that's scarier for them than staying, Their experience is not the same as our experience. Doesn't mean they don't know, though. At some point, I think they do.